Dr. O, this week. Yeah, you gotta know. It's you've been, I think, fighting. You're a very optimistic person in general.
I try, man. I try to be. I don't think. I mean, think about it. Like, how often do we have? You can count the number of recessions, right, that we've had since the Great Depression, right? It's like what, 14, right? Most of the time we're in a good place most of the time, and yet some people can't enjoy the good times and are always focused on the negative. Right? It's nice to see what's around the corner, but you got to stop being paranoid. And so, I see, sadly, I see a lot of negativity out there. Look, there are some reasons to be worried, right? So I just went on TV. I went on CNBC, to talk about the housing market. And I got a lot of comments about, why is it that I'm so optimistic? And look, the bottom line is, there are some reasons to be optimistic. Affordability improved a little bit, more homes on the market for sale, etc. Yes, now we're faced with massive headwinds. We had the policy uncertainty in April, right? And when people are worried about the future, what do? They pull back. They don't go out and buy a car or buy a home. They pull back. And now we got out of that, and activity started working in the right direction again, right? Moving up again. And now we got the whole budget conversation. And the budget conversation, the Moody's downgrade, the budget conversation is causing a bit of volatility again, right? So,
but at the, on the street, the consumer measured sentiment, right? 13-year low in April. I was somewhat surprised by that. I mean, we've gone through some pretty rough times over the last 13 years. Why are people feeling this way?
That's it. That's my point exactly. We haven't had a recession in a long time.
Right.
Actually. Right. We haven't had, we got to go back to 2009.
Well, when to the housing crisis.
Guys, it's 2025. I had 2 children during that time period. Think about that, right? And and they're all big now. So look, the reality is, the economy is not as bad as it seems. The economy was actually in a very good place until we had all of the tariff conversation, until we had the stock market drop, which basically was brought on by the fears of trade wars. And now we have the budget conversation. What's going on with this budget? Well, look, the new tax bill is expected to add to the deficit. That's a known.
And not kind of. No, in a fairly big way. We're looking at numbers that the percentage of GDP is it's a little out there. 125% of GDP. That's a big bill.
And again, it's not my analysis. I am just basically looking at the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office analysis, and I'm looking at what the experts are talking about, and I'm looking at these numbers, and I say, whoa, okay, well, here's where we add some value to our listener. Higher deficit spending will likely offset the negative growth implications of tariffs, right? Because, you got this government spending, this extra spending that pushes aggregate demand higher. So you potentially have an increase in nominal GDP, but budget deficit don't automatically cause higher inflation. That's the part that people need to understand, because what I'm reading out there is, more inflation. No, maybe not necessarily higher inflation, but the Fed, it really means the Fed will not cut interest rates. Potentially not cut interest rates this year.
Whoa! Time out. Hold on a second. You're saying you think that they're not okay?
I'm saying that the combination of higher tariffs and higher budget deficits could put pressure on the inflation side of the mandate, which means that the Fed, right? And also offset the negative growth impact that we were expecting from tariffs, which basically means that if the Fed was going to cut 2 or 3 times this year, maybe it won't cut as much. And what does that mean? Well, that means that treasury yields could actually go up, right? And so I think that's the risk, right? So when I was, on TV last week expecting a modest recovery in home sales, right? The risk to my forecast is the fact that mortgage rates could essentially rise from here because of this and added, this new tax bill that could basically add fuel to a fire, on the inflation front. And basically, it just means the Fed is likely not going to, is probably going to pull back on cutting interest rates, right? Or at least remain sidelined for longer. That's the issue that we're probably facing in the months ahead.
Okay. Well, here's how you bottom lined it. I'll read the bottom of your column, which is up and live as of today. Although inflation is moderating, the Fed has been careful to remain on the sidelines, partly due to uncertainty surrounding the impact of the latest tariffs, but also due to the trajectory of budget deficits. While the government policy agenda implies some upward price pressures, higher deficit spending could offset the negative impact of tariffs on aggregate demand. And that, that is basically, that's exactly what you just said.
Exactly.
What you just said.
And so if market participants expected 3 rate cuts this year, right? Well, the Fed's going to look at this policy, this fiscal policy, the stuff coming out of Washington, D.C., and hold back and wait a little bit, right? And if we don't get 2 or 3 rate cuts this year, treasury yields are likely going up and mortgage rates are likely going higher. That's that's potentially for people in the housing market like myself, that is probably not what we want to see. And that's the risk to our current forecast of home sales increasing slightly in 2025, right? So if rates go up, that might actually cause buyers to pull back a little bit. But we'll see, right? We'll see. That's essentially the issue. I wrote about it in the column, and I think we're going to be talking about it for quite some time.